So our guest today is near and dear to my heart because not only is she someone who I have been in business with now for 4+ years, but she's also someone who has become just a dear friend, a mentor, and somebody who I really, really look up to and who has taught me so much of what I think has helped me to be successful in business. And so the woman who I have on the podcast today is AJ Vaden. She is the co-founder of the company that I work for, Brand Builders Group. She's an international speaker. She's a $1 million producer. And she's also a pretty amazing wife and mama. And she is, when I think about people who have done an amazing job of building high-level relationships and going about business in maybe a little bit of a different way, but a more strategic way, she is someone who is at the top of my list. So for me, a lot of my background, as I think about my career and different jobs that I've had over the years, has been sales of some sort. And if you are in sales, or maybe you know someone who's in sales, you probably are familiar with so much of the messaging given to salespeople is like, just make more calls, make more emails, do more outreach. The answer is always behind the next door, right? And while that is true, and I am not disagreeing with that because that is true and that is a way that works, what I also know is that there is a lot of power in really going deep in your relationships and actually forming friendships with your clients and prospects, getting to know them on a deeper level. And AJ is someone who has exceeded records and set records just by going into deep relationships with people and by being an expert at both establishing and keeping relationships. And so some of what we talk about today is actually, funny enough, it's how she and I met and why she was even willing to respond to a cold LinkedIn outreach from me, which I think is pretty funny. And I actually learned a few things about why she responded to me. You're also going to learn her keys for not only establishing, but for keeping high-level business relationships with people. And then finally, you're going to learn the approach that you need to take to social media if you're going to win in business today and in the future. And there's just so much good here. And I think everybody can learn from AJ's approach to business, to relationship building, and to personal branding. And I am so excited for you to hear her insights. I think you are going to love this one. So stay tuned because we are about to learn a lot from my friend, AJ Vaden. Well, welcome, AJ, to the Instant Impact Podcast. I am so excited to have you.
Yes, likewise. Thanks for having me.
So this is like a little bit of a throwback for us because you and I had a brief stint in podcasting together. True story. Yeah. So this is kind of funny to me. So AJ and I have worked together for years and years in a couple different ways, and we'll tell you guys a little bit about that on the show. But you and I did a podcast together for a while, and I don't think I ever told you this, but so you were like, so for people who are listening who don't know AJ is so good at pretty much everything that she does. Like she's shaking her head. If you're not watching the video, she's shaking her head, but she's really good at it. And so when you and I started podcasting together, your level of expectation of what it would be was like so much higher than mine. So I would get so nervous, like literally by the end of a podcast, I would be sweating through my shirt. I'd have to go change my shirt afterwards because and it was good because you taught me how to up level. Like you seriously taught me so much about how to do things at a higher level, but I would literally just sweat. I'd come out of the room and Jason would be like, "Oh, you had a podcast, didn't you?"
That's hilarious. You should have known before you started that podcast with me that I had high levels of expectation.
I know. And I learned even more.
Oh, you were awesome. It was a short podcast, but you were awesome.
It was fun. We had a lot of fun together. And so, guys, part of why I'm so excited to have AJ on the podcast today is just that she has been such a business mentor and leader to me, and such an example of what a hustler, like a business hustler mogul should be. And so, AJ, I've kind of I guess you could say I've just followed you from like job to job for probably the past 4 years. Little bit of backstory on how we met. So I was familiar with AJ's husband, Rory, because I had listened to his podcast for years, and it had been something that was like very, very transformational in my life. And I remember I was at a point in my life where I wanted to make a career change and I wanted to go into sales coaching. And then it hit me. I was like, oh, well, Rory and his company do sales coaching. I should probably reach out. And I don't know if I've ever told you this either. I have so many like secrets I'm telling you today. I'm just bearing my soul. So originally I thought I was going to be in Nashville where Rory was based out of. And originally I thought I would reach out to him because I just knew his name. And then I remembered that he had mentioned on a podcast episode that you and him didn't take business meetings with people of the opposite sex because it was like part of your relationship, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I thought, this is awesome. I'll reach out to AJ. So I sent you this kind of weird, like creepy LinkedIn message.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah. I felt super creepy sending it because it was totally out of the blue and it like didn't really make a whole lot of sense. It was like, you don't know me, but I want to meet you. So I'd actually love to hear from you, because this whole podcast is about like, how do you build high level relationships and how do you get in with people who you might not normally have access to? This is going to sound like a self-indulgent question. I promise it's not, but I want to hear from you. Like when I sent you that cold LinkedIn outreach and you decided to meet with me, what was it about the cold outreach where you said, okay, sure, I don't know this girl, but I'll give her some of my time?
Yeah, and I think I've told you this before, but it's highly uncommon for me to take a meeting like that, especially from a stranger. And I think even after I had met with you and Rory was like, well, how did you meet her? And I told him, I was like, and you took that meeting? I was like, yeah. And I think part of it was for me is I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember what you had in that LinkedIn message, but when I went to your LinkedIn profile, I just found you so impressive. And I think a part of it was you had just such a well built out profile and you had videos and pictures and tons of all of these recommendations. And it was just a very thorough, just built out profile of someone that I was immediately like, I would like to know that person. And then I went to your website. And I think 5 years ago, having an individual who wasn't already a well-known speaker or author to have an individual website that ahead of the game was also really rare. And it was an amazing website. And there was all these videos of you, and it made it feel very real and natural and genuine. And quite honestly, it made it really easy to say yes to because I found you so impressive.
So that's actually really interesting to hear, because I don't know that you've ever told me the part about like looking me up online, or you may have and I forgot, but I think that just shows there's so much power in knowing that people are always making decisions about whether they're going to meet with you or not, whether they're going to buy from you, whether they're willing to give you their time, and just like always having your online presence ready where your biggest business idol or mentor, like the person who you really want to meet, like if they looked at it, what would they think of you? Would they be willing to spend their time with you? I think that's actually a really good litmus test for like,
I would sure say that if I had gone to your LinkedIn profile and it had been wimpy, I would have just said, hey, I'm so sorry, I'm busy that day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it had been really good, but you didn't have that extra oomph with your own personal website, I probably would have said, hey, I'd love to, but I have a really busy schedule. Maybe we could do a call instead. Or, hey, let me just know how I can help you. Hope you have fun in Nashville. But I think it was the combination of like, wow, like she's very impressive. And I said, well, this would be worth my time. I was like, I don't know what it's going to come out of. I don't know what's going to happen, but this is an individual I'd like to meet. And I think a lot of that came from both your profile and your website.
Wow. And part of what is so funny about that is that website was brand new. I mean, I was trying to position myself as a sales coach at the time, and I had 0 clients. I had nothing, like literally, I know that was the idea, because I was like, well, I've got to get clients, so this thing better look good. But that's part of what is so funny about that is I think so much of it is perception, right? And the people that we want to meet are making decisions all the time based upon their perception of us. And it's not about lying, but it is about, are you putting your best foot forward? And I think it's cool that you said it was actually the personal website, even more than the LinkedIn that did anything. I think that's just a great lesson to all of us that, look, if you're trying to build high level relationships, and if you're trying to get ahead, you need to have a personal website. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. But just have some sort of an online presence that establishes you as an expert in your space where you own your domain. Like, that's big. I think that's pretty cool.
I would say that's big, and I would agree it doesn't have to be fancy, but it better be good. If I had gone to your website and it was like 50% of the personal websites I see, I would not have taken a meeting with you. Not because I wouldn't think that it wasn't worth my time. It would have just been like, this person isn't that serious about business. They're not quite where they should probably be. They're probably just first starting out, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if I'm going to dedicate that kind of time, it's going to be to someone I already know that I would like to invest time into, not a complete stranger. So I think a big part of it, again, doesn't have to be fancy or big. It could be a one page, but it better be good.
So what would be, if somebody's listening, they're like, well, what is a good personal website? What would you say are some of the top things that if you're looking at someone's website and evaluating it, that you're like, these have to be there for it to be good?
Yeah, I would say one, really good photography. I think that makes an extraordinary difference. I think video also makes a difference, and the video production, sound quality really helps. Just help me get to know you. Something that's simple, so I don't need 15 headers. 1, 2, 3 headers, especially if it's a personal website and you don't have all of these different business components that you're doing, speaking, podcasting, authoring books, coaching. If you don't have all of that, it should just be a good, simple one page. And then good photography. I think video, but it's got to have great sound quality, and it has to have a good visual. And I think outside of that is picking a template, a layout that's very clean and modern. It's not busy. You don't want 15 logos all over it. You don't want tons of copy. I want to be able to come to your website and in less than 10 seconds know what you do. If I have to click on multiple different pages or different tabs or scroll down to figure out what you do, I'm not going to make it very far. So the fact that it's just clean, simple, aesthetically pleasing, and I think more than anything, it really helps me know what you do in an instant. So clear. So clarity of what's the purpose of your website, I think is really important.
That's so good. And I think too, like, people sometimes feel intimidated by the fact that they need to build a personal website, right? And maybe they're working for somebody else right now, or they're an entrepreneur and they've got a website for their business, but they're like, really, do I need to make one for myself? And I think part of it is just making it easy. So there are companies like Squarespace, like Weebly. WordPress can be a little bit more complicated. It doesn't have to be, but it can be super simple where you just grab a templated one and pop your stuff in. And like you said, the photography, the video is critical. So I think that's really, really good advice. So I want to hear from you. A big part of why I wanted to have you on the show, not just to hear about how awesome my approach to you was, but outside of that, you are one of the best people that I know at both establishing new relationships and then also keeping relationships. And you've done some pretty impressive work in your day. You're $1 million producer. There are awards that have been given to you year after year for your production, right? And like you have, I think when I look at somebody who's able to establish and keep relationships with clients, with referral partners, with vendors, you do that really well. So I want to hear from you first. What would you say are some of the top keys to establishing new relationships with somebody who you want to meet or work with?
I'd say, it's so funny because it's, I think there's so many things I would say, but I think the biggest thing that would stick out to me is if I really want to establish a strong new relationship, the number one thing that I focus on is doing more than what's expected. And to me, that if it's a performance-driven, results-based relationship, I want to give more. I'm not going to under-promise and over-deliver. I'm not trying to intentionally say I'm going to do less and then do more. As I'm going to find little things along the way where I can just be of added service. I can be of added value, and I'm not going to charge you for it, right? So a good example is if I had a client and it was a performance-driven relationship and there was an expected ROI, I'm not going to lowball what I think just so I can come in high and be like, I'm better than I said. It's more of along the way, if I see a book that's pertinent to whatever our relationship is about, I'll buy that book and I'll send it to them. If I hear a podcast or a blog, I'm going to just be in tune to how would this help the people that I'm trying to serve. And I think that's the mentality. It's like, I'm actually trying to serve these people. I'm not doing it for a revenue number, a profit number, a sales number, an income number. I'm literally doing it's like, hey, you entrusted me with X, Y, and Z, and my job is to make sure I do it and then some. So it's that truly it's a heart of service, but not in the generic sense, in the sense of like, I'm actually enjoying what I do. And I want to make sure that I do it and I do it really well. I think a lot of people that don't go above and beyond, they really don't love what they do. And that's kind of the first problem. When you love what you do, it's easier to add a little extra because it doesn't feel like work. If everything you do feels like work, you don't want to work all the time. I don't want to do that. So I imagine most other people don't. It's like if it's not a passion to you, doing all of those little extra things are a little bit more challenging and they're not top of mind and they're not things that you think about all the time. And I just said, it's like, there are many things in business here now and in the past that I haven't loved doing, but I focused as much of my time and effort on doing the things that I truly love and I'm truly passionate about doing, because then it doesn't feel like work, and doing those little added bits of service or information or tips really make a difference. For a lot of my clients, they're always asking like, where do you find good people? Where do you hire good people? Or what's a great marketing conference to go to? Or what's the best new book that you're reading? And it's like, I'm always prepared with something to give at all times. And I think part of that is that I'm not afraid to share my very unbiased opinion, good, bad, or ugly. But that's a part of it. It's like people know what they're going to get from me. They know that if I really love something, I'm going to tell you about it. And if I really don't think something is worthwhile, I'm also going to tell you about it. And I think that's part of it is that candid nature is what allows some relationships to form faster. So I am sure I turned plenty of people off because of that, but those aren't my people. That's not my tribe. They're probably not the people that would buy from me. They're probably not the people I'd want to buy from me. They're not going to be the ones that I have a tight-knit relationship with. And one of the things that I have found is that if I'm going to fall in love with what I do in my professional life, I better love who I'm doing it with. So I better love my clients. Otherwise, it's going to feel like work. So I think a big takeaway is don't do things that feel like work. Find the things in whatever your entrepreneurial passion is, or it's an 8 to 5 profession, whatever it is, you better love what you do, because then everything feels like a passion project. It doesn't feel like, oh, I got to do this thing for work, because that's exhausting and draining and you're not going to do it. But when it's not that, it's easier and it's more likely that you will have things top of mind, and it's more fun. And I think people see that passion come through, they see that interest come through, and that candid nature of just, this is who I am. It's like people will fall in love with it or they won't. And if you're doing it well enough, the ones who don't have to be your clients. And you get to pick who your clients are based on the people that you want to work with. So it all kind of comes back to just doing more than what's expected. But that's a byproduct of loving what you do and who you're doing it with.
I think that, to me, that hits home so much, because so much of the messaging and the culture about our work and how we do it is still, it's like, you just, you grind, you just like pressure, hit the numbers, everybody's a number. And to me, that was a lot of how I was raised, just as I think about my different careers throughout my life. And it feels almost wrong that you could achieve better results in business by just like loving on people. And as I've learned that over the years, it's incredibly liberating, because you start to really love what you do. And the fact that like you literally just get to love on people and make them feel good and be a resource for them. I think about the people who I buy from. It's the people who make me feel best about myself. It's the people who I feel like really actually care about me. And when it is time to buy, I buy from them. So for you, would you say, is that the key to keeping those relationships once somebody is already an established partner or vendor or client, or do you have any other secret sauce that you think helps you have amazing retention of your clients as well?
This is the most unsecret secret of all time, but I think the key to retaining big clients, good clients, is they become your friend. It's the biggest unsecret secret is these people actually, you have a relationship with them. They see you more than just a vendor or a provider. They see you as a person, you know, trusted advisor, whatever you want to call it. But they see you as a relationship. And when you have a relationship with someone, it's harder to leave. And it's easier to fix things. It's easier to communicate with them. It's like I have a vendor right now where the person who sold me something is also a personal friend. And there was some miscommunication around what the fees would be. And several months after, I just happened to notice these fees that whether I didn't understand or they didn't explain well, whatever, I'll say it's my fault. But it's about double what the expected fees were. And when I went back and asked, they explained, well, this was weekly, not bi-weekly. And I was like, I'm sure that's deep in that contract language somewhere, but I don't think that's what we said. And if there had not been a relationship here with me, I would have easily just been like, I'm out. Now, although I may still be out because it's double what I thought, the fact that there is a relationship there is forcing me to want to communicate and to work this out, not get angry. I'm not mad. There's no yelling at customer service. There's no nasty emails. It's just, well, we're going to need to talk about that. And I think a big part of that is because there is a relationship with that person, and it's more than just within the walls and the confines of business and 8 to 5. It's, I like this person. We've had lunch together. We've had coffee together. I've introduced this person to people. They've introduced me to people. There is a relationship there. So when there are problems, I'm more likely to work through them instead of bailing. But more than that, it's relationships matter. I mean, let's just face it. It is hard to find good, reliable work. If anyone listening to this has ever built a house, done a renovation or anything in that word, like, you know, once you find someone who's reliable, who shows up, charges what they're supposed to and does what they're supposed to, it's like, I will use you for life. Can you please sign a contract that you will never not work with me? Because it is so hard. And we do all this work as business people and salespeople to find these clients. We spend all this marketing money and we spend all of this time trying to find these new people and resources to acquire. And then we just forget. It's all done, off to the new. Why would we do that? Why would we spend all of our time trying to find new when we could just establish, grow, and build this incredible base of amazing clients who are willing to send us business because they love us? Not just based on our company, they love us as people. They're like, I trust her. She does great work. She's going to shoot you straight. Whatever happens, she's going to make it right. That's the kind of reputation that you need to have to make sure that you have people that never leave you. Yeah. And it's really easy to do if you have a good relationship. And I think I hear all the time, well, relationships take a lot of time. And I think you would be the first one to say, no, they don't. They don't have to. It doesn't have to take months and years to build amazing relationships. It has to take intentional effort, and it has to take someone to be open and free with their information and their time, but it doesn't have to take a long time. And that's a real misconception. And I love what you talk about is that relationships don't have to take a long time. There are some things that you can do uniquely different to expedite that process. But I think at the end of the day, it's like people stay with you because they know you. They know they can rely on you, they trust you, and they like you, which actually does make a big difference.
It's so funny because that makes me think about people who I still hear so often people saying, well, I don't want to add my clients on Facebook, or I don't want to follow them on Instagram because I just don't feel like I keep those separate, right? I keep my personal and my business separate. And I think if you were going to win in business today, you cannot. And to me, it's just like, live a life that you would be totally fine with your clients seeing. You know, live a life that you'd be totally fine with everybody seeing. And then there's no problem. Right?
Like for a second there, I have to remember that we're on video right now, because I was just about to have like this really awful face that came across, because I'm so annoyed when people say, oh, well, I have my personal and then I have my work. And it's like, I have to hide my annoyed face. So I have to remember I'm on video right now.
I think you should let it out.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, but yes, it's like, what are you doing in your personal life that you need to hide from the rest of the world? And the thing is like no one's really doing anything. It's like they're posting about their kids and their grandkids and their cats and their vacations, and it's like, and that's so private because of what?
Thank you.
I just like, that's just so foreign to me, and perhaps it's my millennial nature, but to me it's like, this is the fastest, easiest, most accessible way for people to get to know you. However, it's in the virtual realm. It's like, it still helps expedite the relationship building process. And so why are you trying to have like this very fancy, formal, professional side and then the real side? That's weird. Like if you just actually talk it out to yourself, it's weird. It's like you're trying to keep up two different identities. So I've got, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde over here. It's like I've got my personal profile where I do all the things that are actually about me. And then I have my business side, which are all the things that are just about my work. Well, I actually would like to know you. If you're my financial advisor, or my insurance person, or my mortgage person, anyone who's handling my money, my lawyer, it's like, good Lord, I would like to know about you. I would like to know all types of things. It's like, all this stuff about me and my personal situation. Why wouldn't I want to know that about you? Instead of just posting information about what the stock market is doing or what my Roth is doing. It's like, that's great. But I also want to know that you're a reliable, trustworthy, credible human being who isn't doing weird illegal stuff. That too is important. It's like, it's like, I want to make sure you're not doing weird dog fights on the weekend.
So random.
I need to know about you. And it's like, this is an opportunity for me to like you even more, right? And for those people who don't even have social media profiles, that's your prerogative. Hiding my face. We're just living in a different era where it's like, if you want to build relationships with people, this is a forum. This is an ability. This is a choice that you have. And if you're trying to live this dual identity, my work side and my personal side, again, that's your choice. You're missing it. You're missing the real opportunity of helping people get to know you, which is why they like you, why they trust you, why they work with you, and ultimately why they stay with you. So you're only limiting yourself. The other thing I hear from people all the time is, well, I always hear from friends and family that they don't even know what I do. And then I think, well, that's probably because you never talk about what you do. If you're not talking about what you do on your personal side because you have this whole professional life that you're living vicariously somewhere else, I doubt you're talking about it at barbecues or family. And not that you should talk about work everywhere you go, but that comes back to, is it your passion or is it your work? Mm-hmm. And that's the difference. If it's your passion, it's not work. It's just a part of who you are, what you do, and where you spend time. Yeah. Unless it's a job and you don't care for it, then it's like that too comes through. And if you're wondering why you're not performing to the level you are, I would just do a passion check. Do I even seem excited when I talk about what I do? Do I even talk about what I do for the people outside of work? And I think those are all signals of, like, am I doing what I should be doing, like profession-wise? But then also it's like, why am I not passionate about this? Why did I get into this in the first place? And those are much deeper conversations, probably for another interview, Elyse. Yeah. But all of that comes back to, it's like, if you feel like you have to have these dual identities and you're not connecting your personal and professional, I would say there's something probably wrong there.
I think you just gave a couple of really, really good tests and just like gut checks for people to give if they're not hitting their goals in business. Is just, like you said, the passion test and then the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde test. And I really, like, I agree 100% with what you said. I didn't really know where today's interview would go. It kind of went in a different place, but I think it's cool. And I think it's relevant because that will be one of the things that will make you win in business today and in building relationships, is to show all of who you are, not overshare, but show who you are. Be real. Don't be afraid to add your clients and add your referral partners and prospects on social media and just your network, and let them get to know you and let them get to know the real you. And that is actually the way that you compress time and that you expedite relationships, is by being real and authentic and then sharing it with the world. So
yeah, and I think it is worth mentioning, for the sake of not taking what we're saying out of context, there is the opportunity to overshare.
oh yeah,
There is. So it's like, again, so it's like, what are you doing in your personal life that you wouldn't want other people to know about? Well, there may be some things.
like bathroom selfies. We don't need bathroom selfies.
Yes. So in that respect, I think there is something, and it's like, my policy has always been, if I wouldn't share it professionally, I just don't share it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like, I wear bikinis and I go to the beach. I ain't posting that on social media. But that's my choice. Now, if I was a fitness trainer or a bikini model, maybe I would. But that's outside the realm of my expertise and my brand, right? I don't post tons of pictures of food. But if I were in the culinary business, if I owned a restaurant, if I was anything in that, then I would. So I would just, again, think in context of, what do you want to be known for? And post about that. So again, there is a huge opportunity for oversharing, and it's probably why you're thinking, well, that's why I do lead this double life. I have my personal profiles and my professional profiles. And I would just challenge, it's like, but who are you excluding in that process? And it's a lot. And so just going back to, what do I want to be known for? What is connected to my brand? What am I trying to forward by these posts? And run it through that filter as well, in the context of potentially oversharing.
Yeah, I love that. It's, yeah, there is a lane that you want to play in with that. And I think sometimes we take that for granted, but you bring up a really good point that a lot of people feel like, well, if I can't share anything, then I shouldn't share at all. Right. So I think that is such good advice, though. And I know, like, a lot of what you do in your brand, and I mean, really, it's our whole company too, is just helping people get clear on their personal brand. What should they share? What should they not share? What are they going to be about? What are they going to be known for? I love that you brought that up at the end, because you do need to think about, what are you going to be known for, and make sure that what you're putting out there on social and how you're building relationships with people is aligned with that. So if somebody wants to get more of your insights, or connect with you, or hear more about how do they figure out what they want to be known for and what their personal brand is going to be, how can people connect with you and get to know you and start to build a relationship with you?
Yes, absolutely. So there's two places. You can go to ajvaden.com, or you could go to our company's website, thebrandbuildersgroup.com. And if you go to thebrandbuildersgroup.com, there is a "the" in the front. That's really important. We actually have a free course. So if any of you who are listening are curious about, well, what do I want to be known for, and how do I mix and mingle this personal and professional to really set off high net worth and high level relationships, and what is a personal brand, and how do I build one? We actually have a free course. And it's a 4-day video course, and you can go to our website and just click on our home tab at the top that says free course. And all you got to do is give us your name and your email, and we will sign you up for that free course, and it will at least set you on that journey. And then if you want to learn more after that, you can request a free call. But thebrandbuildersgroup.com or ajvaden.com, either one. Would love to connect.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, AJ. I love when I get to talk with you, because I just feel like I learned so much, and I feel like everybody listening learned a lot as well about how to build relationships and how to be authentic and just how to elevate their personal brand. So thank you for your time and your friendship and your mentorship in my life. I just appreciate you so much.
Well, you're so welcome, and thank you. And I would just say one other quick thing about Elyse, and it's kind of how she started this. It's, what is the step to building high-level relationships? And I would say the step is exactly what you did, Elyse. You had no fear and reaching out to someone that you wanted to meet. And I think that's the number one reason most of us don't have the relationships that we could, or that we would, or that we want, is because we don't ask. We don't reach out. We don't put ourselves out there. We don't think it's possible. And you just never know who's going to take that meeting, who's going to take that call. And so whether it's an email, it's an introduction, it's a letter, it's a phone call, don't be afraid to at least ask. The worst thing they're going to say is no. But on the flip side, you never know what may come out of it.
That is such a good way to end. And literally the whole trajectory of my life has been changed by sending you that LinkedIn message. And I think for people who are afraid to do that, you don't have that relationship already. Like, you already don't have it. So the worst that happens is you still don't have it, and that's okay. But the flip side is something amazing could happen from it. So I love that. And I just appreciate your time here. And I hope everybody will go online and connect with AJ. She shares awesome advice on her website, and follow her on Instagram too, AJ Vaden. And I appreciate you, and we will see you guys very soon. Bye-bye.